What's going on, folks? I'm going to be changing out this starter on this Chevy Impala. This happened to be a 3400 engine, and this happens to be a 2000 Chevy Impala. Basically, the person's been having problems coming out, and when they come out, first it was making like a loud clicking sound, like one click, but rather that's an indicator that your starter's gone out. So if you could look on this vehicle, I can show you where the starter is at. You can see it. The starter is right down there. Basically, it's behind that cylinder. You see where that orange line is, orange electrical line is at? That right there is going on to the starter, which is right there. You'll see where that orange electrical line is going to. That's actually the starter. The first thing when you want to do when you're disconnecting your starter, though, is you want to go ahead on and disconnect your battery first. Disconnecting your battery, basically your battery cables. So I'm doing this now. I'm taking off the negative side first, and then I'm going to take off the positive side. But yes, the first thing you want to do when you disconnect your starter is always disconnect your battery first. Let me go ahead and get that off. Then I'm going to be climbing up underneath the vehicle to actually get to the starter. Now I'm going to go ahead on and take off the positive side. Alright, so I'm going to get this off. Then I'm going to have to jack up the vehicle. Then once I get the vehicle jacked up, I'm going to be working up underneath the vehicle. Alright, folks, so now I'm actually up underneath the car. I've done jacked the car up. And right here, what you can see, this is my starter. Right here, what you see in front of me. Right there. You see those wires right there? There should be 3 wires that I have to remove from off of the starter. It'll be 2 screws you gotta take, 2 bolts you gotta take off rather, which are, let's see if I can get a better angle of it. You might be able to see it right there. You gotta remove those 2 bolts off of it, and when you do that, you'll be able to take off those 3 wires that's on it. There's 2 wires that's going on to 1 screw, and there's 1 wire that's going over to the bottom screw. But then also what I have to do is remove this plastic covering right here that you can see right here. That plastic covering that's going around the starter. It has 1 screw that I have to remove that's actually right on the front end, right up there. I don't know if you can see it, but you see the edge of it peeking out right there. That's a screw I have to remove to take off this plastic housing. Then once I do that, I have 2 more screws to take out, which you can see kind of one peeking out right there. See that big screw right there? Well, I have to take that one out, and then there'll be another one that I have to take out that's up. But you pretty much got to remove that plastic piece to take out that other screw that's actually up there on the side of the, let me see if I can get a better angle. That's up there. But when I remove this plastic piece, you all will be able to see the 2 screws I have to take out to actually drop the starter itself. I'm about to be doing that now. Alright, folks, now you can see I'm underneath here. Right here where my hand is at, that's where the bolt's at that I'm actually turning to remove this plastic covering that you see moving. See right here, I'm taking this screw out. It took a size 10 socket to loosen that. Now this is about to come out. So now I have that bolt out. Yeah, now I have that bolt out of that screw rather, out right here. Now I have this out. So now this whole plastic piece right here, see how I'm just pulling this plastic piece down? And now that I have that down, you'll be able to see the 1 screw right here. That's one of the screws that's right there that I have to remove. Then I have another screw that's up on the other side of the starter, back up there I have to remove. And once I remove those 2 screws, you see the other one. There's the other one right there. So 1 screw is going to be right here to take out, and the other screw is way up there I have to get out. And once I get those 2 screws out, then I have to disconnect those little screws that's actually on the starter wires, and then the starter will come down. What I'm going to go ahead and do is try to disconnect some of the screws on the wires up there first, just to see if it makes it easier for me before pulling the starter itself down. So I don't want the weight of the starter to actually hang onto those wires in fear of damaging them. So I'm gonna go ahead now and try to take out those little screws that's on those little, as you can see right up there, on those little, I'm gonna take those little bolts off rather, that's on those little screws that's up there. Should be 2 bolts I have to take out. And once I get those bolts off, I should be able to pull those wires off. Then next I'll go ahead and start taking out these 2 big screws, one up there and one right here. I'll show you that in a minute. Alright, I've now removed one of the lines, one of the electrical connections that goes onto it. If you can see right here where I'm touching this little piece, this little wire, that wire base is connected onto one of the electrical connections that's on the actual starter itself. So next I'm going to actually be removing the other bolt. Then I'm going to show you what I'm taking off once I get the starter off, and you'll be able to see what actually I'm taking off of the starter to get the electrical wires off of it before I take off the big bolts on it. Alright. Okay, and as you can see now, I have the little bolt off, which is right there. Then I also have unscrewed the 2 lines right here. You want to remember when you're putting them back on that these 2 lines go together onto the same bolt, and that the one that looks like it's the fusible link you want to put on top of the other one when you put it back onto the screw, and they both go on the top screw on your starter. Both of these 2 lines right here that you see me pulling off, they both go on that top basically screw on the starter right here. It's which one they go on. Then there's a little smaller one that's up underneath it where you want to put that small wire at. And remember that the fusible link one that you'll see, like the orange wire, goes on top of the other one you're putting on both onto that same screw. Alright, now next what I'm going to be doing is going ahead on and taking out the 2 big screws that hold your starter on, which is one that's right here, one right there, and the other one's up top up there. So I'm going to go ahead and be removing those screws now. It's kind of difficult to get to that screw that's up at the top of your starter, but what I did was I kind of reached around this little metal bar that's right here, and I stuck the size 15 first onto the screw itself. You're going to have a major problem trying to get the actual socket wrench, the socket set with the extension on there and the size 15 socket on it onto the actual screw at the same time. So what I did was I reached up and I stuck the size 15 onto the screw itself. And then once I had that on there, then I built back from that. Then I took a extension that fit into that size 15 and stuck it into that one. Then I added another extension into that extension, and finally I'm using my actual ratchet wrench right here to go ahead and take it out. But this is probably the best way to do it. And also you want to go ahead and remove this screw first before you take the bottom one out, because if you don't, then all the pressure is going to be on this top screw, which will make it harder for you to get that one out. So once again, to basically get to this top screw that's on your starter, you want to take your size 15 and actually put it on the screw itself by itself. And then you want to add your extension into your size 15. And then if you need another extender, which I did, you want to go ahead and stick that one into that one. And then go ahead and connect your actual wrench to it to take the screw out. I'm going to be taking this screw out once I get done with that one. And then I'm going to take out the other one that's over there. I loosened it just a little bit, but I left that one in as support for when I take out this actual top screw right here. Alright, now I have the actual starter itself out, and you can see the opening that it goes into, as well as the lines I took off of it. I took off those electrical lines that you see right up there, and the holes that your starter go to is right there. The big screws that hold them, there's one right there and there's one over here. And once you take those 2 screws out pretty much and disconnect your electrical cables that went to your starter now come down. So now I'm going to actually show you the starter itself off of the car so you can see exactly what I was disconnecting to get the starter off. All right, I'm about to get the starter tested now to make sure that it's good or bad or not. We over here at AutoZone didn't test it. as you can see, the starter failed, so it's no good.
Alright folks, this is basically the new starter now. I took the other one to AutoZone and got it tested, and of course it failed like I figured it would. So what I'm about to show you now is exactly what you're going to need. When you're taking off your starter, the first thing that you probably should do is go ahead and disconnect your electrical connections, which will be, this is the bolt right here you got to take off right here, which will be the big bolt, which actually takes a size 13 to remove. This bolt right here will be a size 13. And then when you get to this small bolt right here, which is going to have the little wire going on to it, what you're going to need to remove that one, I believe, is a size 8. A size 8 socket will take off the small bolt, and a size 13 to take off this big bolt right here that you'll have to take off right here, which will be a size 13. You only got to take off these two. You don't have to do nothing with this right here. Just leave that alone. This is just the screw, the bolt that connects your solenoid to your starter itself. So you don't have to take that one off. You just take off this size 13 bolt, and then this size 8 bolt right here. And once you have that done, next what you'll have is a screw right here, which actually goes into the little plastic covering that you'll see that's going around the starter, basically where your two big screws are at. And to take this screw out, what you'll need is a size 10 socket. Size 10 socket to take out this screw. Just be one screw that pretty much is holding the plastic covering that's covering up the front of your starter. And then once you get that done, you'll come around to these screws. These are the main screws right here that actually take the start off of your vehicle. And for these screws, what you'll need is a size 15 socket to take these screws off right here. It'll be a size 15.
Pretty much got the starter back on. I just put the rubber cup, the plastic covering back on that goes over top of your screws, which you can see right there, and the other one's way up there. And then I connected back up my electrical wires. I don't know if you can see it, which is right there. I made a video also showing you exactly what I'm going to be putting back onto it, so you can see what you're doing. But pretty much now the starter's back on. And what I did was, before I put the actual the plastic covering back over, I went ahead and tested it to make sure that it worked. So most of the time, once you get, like, say, your main screws in and bolts back on, I would say go ahead and make sure nothing's in the way and try to start your vehicle up just to make sure it's on there correctly. And once you do that and everything works right, then I would say go ahead and put on your plastic covering right here that goes over top of your screws, your size 15 screws that actually hold the starter onto your vehicle. Alright folks, once again, this is how you would install a starter. This happens to be a Chevy Impala, a 2000 model, but installing starters are pretty much the same on most vehicles. It's pretty much the same setup. So alright folks, once again, this is how you would put a starter on your vehicle. Please subscribe and please check out our other videos. Thanks.